the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine. It's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine, into our 23rd consecutive season, whatever. And, of course, seen now on cleveland.com, as well as a simulcast for the time being with Spectrum Sports. Bud Shaw from WKYC.com is with us. Look at that jacket. It just jumps off the page.
Well, thank you. I hope it doesn't jump around too much, but...
Wow.
You know, when you say the 23-year thing, what that makes
into our 23rd.
What that makes me think of is that you may have something to do with this streak of really bad Browns football.
I don't think there's any question.
Because you would have this show would have started right after their last playoff win. Would have been in '94.
No, that's where the into our 23rd season comes in, as opposed to 23 years.
Okay.
This started in 1996.
Okay. So
you do the math.
94, they had their last playoff win.
That's correct.
The idea started floating that you were going to start doing a show.
Yes.
The Browns immediately left town in '95.
Right, to get out of my way.
And haven't been good until recently.
Yeah.
And let's just say, good is 6-7-1. I mean,
yeah, it is.
We're not quite,
I look at it that way.
Not quite there yet. We think their potential is here for them to be much better next year. But this notion, am I going to do this in my ad lib opening comment?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
It already?
This notion that they're suddenly clear favorites to win the AFC North next year.
Don't you think so?
No. Why? Based on what? A 1-point win over Denver? A bad Denver team? I mean, if they don't win that game, they're 5-8-1. Is anybody still think they're favorites to win?
But here's the best part of that game Saturday.
Yeah.
They didn't play well. Baker Mayfield didn't play well, and they won the football game.
Because Case Keenum isn't very good. Denver didn't play well.
But you're
Denver had
the
no
Keenums
cornerbacks left. I'm just saying that they did. It beat the alternative, but they came this close.
Every game did. I heard somebody on radio today say, if they just won the the opening Pittsburgh game, and they won then they won the Oakland game or whatever.
And New Orleans, they played really good, right?
Except for one thing, if they did all these things, Hugh Jackson would still be here.
Yeah, that's true. I think the only way you can go back to the beginning of the year is if you say, if the Haslams had had the foresight, I don't even call it foresight, because I thought it was so obvious what they needed to do, which was replace Hugh Jackson. If they had done it at the end of last year, then we don't know who they would have hired as a head coach yet. We don't know who the offensive coordinator would have been. We don't know Freddie Kitchens would have been involved at all, which he probably wouldn't have been. So it's always hard to project, but that would have been at least a clean slate. Maybe the new head coach decides that Tyrod Taylor's the guy to start the season too. Who knows? Well, Dorsey gave up a third-round pick for him.
That's another thing. If he plays, if he doesn't get hurt, you don't see Baker Mayfield till maybe the bye week.
Yeah.
Or later.
Yeah. So I don't tend to look back, but when I do that, I'm in agreement with you about one thing. If you look back and you say, well, they could have beat Pittsburgh. Well, guess what they're saying in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we could have beat the Browns.
They could have beat the Browns easily if they don't turn the ball over so often and miss a field goal attempt. You know, if Cam Newton hits an open receiver in the end zone, they probably lose that game.
Well,
so
you talk about what you're talking about is parity in the NFL.
Yes, and now they're at least there. They're there
they're there in position to maybe win a game, maybe lose a game.
And we know that they have the quarterback that they need to keep advancing and winning playoff games, I believe, anyway.
I should have saved this for this date in Les Levine history, but you mentioned the Browns left town and all that stuff. And yesterday was the anniversary of the last game when people were taking their own personal seat licensing. Oh, no, they were just stealing chairs.
Yeah. I'll never forget it, and I know I've probably mentioned it once or twice before, but I went to that game, and instead the outcome didn't matter, right? So
26-10 Browns.
I just sat in the dog pound with a bunch of fans and watched the game from down there. Yeah.
All right, so I'm on the sidelines. Remember, at the end of the game, we as media members actually, with 2 minutes left, could go down on the field because we used to cut through the dugout to get to where the Browns were, and I'm standing on the sideline next to Brian Sipe, who's just soaking it all in because this is the field where he made his football life and all. And I said, hi, Brian, Les Levine, and I've got this TV show. I'd love to have you. Or can we get some comments for you after the game? And he basically said, who the heck are you? That's a this date in Les Levine history. I thought it was pretty cool. He was soaking up the thing and didn't want to. I could have been. I could have been Al Michaels.
You weren't part of his experience that day. Huh?
I was not. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us. For you new people who are watching us on cleveland.com, we welcome you. And we will tell you the phone number where you can get involved. That's 216-575-0403. We'd like to hear from you, find out what you're thinking of it. It looks terrific. It looks marvelous.
Are we back to this, talking about this jacket again?
Yes.
I thought so.
It does. It's from the More Sports Les Levine collection. 216-575-0403 is the number. Let's check out MS&LL. That's More Sports Les Levine headlines. Brought to you by Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Cavs and the Pistons get ready tonight. Could you name all the players on the Cavs team right now?
Not in an hour. If you gave me 2 hours, I might be able to come up
out of 15, how many would you get, like right now?
Maybe
10?
7 or 8.
7 or 8. Yeah. I have one guy I not only didn't know was on the team, never heard of him. I'll have to figure out who that guy was.
It's not J.R. Smith, right?
No, okay. He's not on the team.
Right.
Yeah, he signed J.A. Happ, left-hander, 2 years, $34 million. The Browns waiting on word for Denzel Ward, who's missed 2 games with concussion. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us. Tomorrow night, it'll be Jim Ingram. Thursday night, Hoynesy back from Las Vegas, where he covered the Browns, and, well, he covered the winter meetings, which, as somebody pointed out, should be a how come quickie. How come winter meetings are not held in the winter? Still fall. Spring training, not in spring for the most part.
You think December is still the fall?
First day of winter is December 21st.
Okay. Now you're getting a technicality
getting
here.
Technical.
All right.
All right, let's get going. Let's get going with Bud Shaw with an opening comment.
Ad-lib opening comment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, unless the near impossible happens, this Browns season won't end in the playoffs. But lumping it in with all the other seasons we've experienced since the last playoff win, I think, no, I'm sorry. See, it's what happens when I ad-lib stuff.
It's tough, right?
The last playoff year, which was 2002, wouldn't be fair. Greg Williams deserves some credit for the turnaround since then. He's also deserves an interview and consideration as the next permanent head coach. But that's it. That's about all he deserves. John Dorsey's mission, in my mind, hasn't changed at all. He needs to hire the best head coach he can find, not just hire an upgrade over Hugh Jackson. That would be a lot of people. There's reason to believe that won't be Greg Williams. Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam couldn't overcome their emotional attachment to Hugh Jackson, even after it was obvious he wasn't the right guy for the job. The fear is that they're developing the same connection with Greg Williams. And this is no time for that. Let Dorsey do his job. I know, that sounds simple, but when has simple ever been the case in Berea? You know what I mean? Like,
of course I do.
If Greg Williams is 4-2, I'll be the first to say he's done a very nice job.
Right. He has.
I think anybody, and I don't mean to cast aspersions on what he's done, but I think anybody coming in had some experience would have done better than Hugh Jackson. I think a lot of people would have done better.
With the same roster lineup and all that.
I mean, that team was, you could tell that the head coach was part of the problem here, and the only people that couldn't understand it and recognize it were the owners.
Nowhere have we heard from the Haslams that money is the problem, where we say, well, we're paying off 17 different head coaches and their staffs and all that stuff. So I'm going to assume that's not the problem.
I'm going to assume it too. It doesn't count that, coaches' salaries don't count against the cap, and they certainly have enough money, NFL owners, to go and get whoever they want.
As you know, I'm the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Cleveland sports. Bud, I agree with you totally, and I did up until maybe this morning.
Okay.
When I didn't change my mind, but if it ain't broke, why fix it? Now, I can't imagine that Greg Williams was number 1 or number 10 on Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam's list. On the other hand, normally when coaching changes, look at all the coaching changes we've had here in Cleveland just since 1999. And the center of that is the team wasn't very good, it had a terrible culture, and it also didn't have talent. Here you have, whether it's going to be Greg Williams or some other coach, a college coach or some former pro coach like Bruce Arians or McCarthy or somebody like that, they're going to come in and say, there's no real problem here. You need some more players. You need to be competitive, but you're in a division that is on the way down. The Browns are the team on the way up. The other three, whether it's Baltimore and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, I think we would say are on the way down, especially once Roethlisberger decides to hang them up. So I'm not sure about this whole thing. I can't imagine that the best guy you can get is Greg Williams. You said it exactly right. Just being better than Hugh Jackson isn't good enough. You have a chance to make a landmark decision here for this franchise. And again, as you say, just because it'll be better with Greg Williams doesn't mean it's the move you should make.
Yeah, listen, I don't have anything against Greg Williams. I just don't know that anybody in the league, for whatever reason, now you can say everybody overlooked him, but nobody in the league was in a rush to hire him after he was the head coach in Buffalo.
Yeah, the image that he was trouble.
Even when he was here as a defensive coordinator, he was, you know, he was that guy, right, who was going to tell you to sit up straight, and he was posturing. Ever since he became head coach, he sort of developed a more diplomatic attitude. I think he's trying to sell them on the idea that he can be the face of the team in the public.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, Les. I think there are only two positions, not positions, but two people affect teams most. The quarterback and the head coach. And we think they have the right quarterback. They have a chance of getting the best coach they can get. If they could get a guy like Sean McVay, then Dorsey walks away for the next 10 years and doesn't worry about it.
Yeah, although McVay's struggling a little bit right now.
Yeah, I'd like to struggle like that, too.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. 216-575-0403 if you want to get in the action. Now is the time to do that. Bud Shaw from WKYC.com is with us. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. In fact, we'll get to some of the Facebook responses. Your names and pictures will be shown on the screen. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports Les Levine continues on Spectrum, as well as, of course, cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the NetsBand Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Let's check on our birthdays for today, the 18th of December. Ty Cobb. Apparently, you subscribe to the theory he's the worst human being that ever played Major League Baseball.
Well, I know some people find this hard to believe, but I did not cover any of his games, so I didn't know, I didn't know him personally.
How about when he would run from
he had that reputation.
On first, and if there was a bunt, he'd just cut across the pitcher's mound and get to third.
Yeah, I mean, between the spikes and
and perhaps allegedly murdering an elevator operator here in Cleveland, but I know nothing about it.
Was that.
Bill Skowron played first base for the Yankees. Zoyo Versailles, who was an MVP, right, with Minnesota at one point. The Indians had him at the end of his career. tie game, 1947. Benjamin Watson, former Brown, and Eric Haas, is he soon to be former Indian catcher or soon to be the number 2 man?
You know, as brutal as the NFL game is, when you look and you see guys like Ben Watson and Antonio Gates out there playing at age 38.
Gates, I think, is 38.
I mean, that's amazing to be able to do that in that league with the size and speed
no
of those guys
and
how much it hurts to get hit.
Yeah, when you're 38, it always hurts when you get hit. 216-575-0403 is the number. One guy making a great impression, Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns quarterback. Let's take a look at some of his numbers here as we get ready for Sunday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Browns favored by 7 in that game, bud. Here's Baker, the first 6 games, then the last 6 games. How about that? Same amount of completions, 130. And the yards in the last 6 games, 1594. It's pretty good. I like the touchdown to interception ratio, not bad. So 21 touchdowns on the year and a total of 11 interceptions. You know, though, the game the other night was fun and something to look forward to, and I don't think Cleveland fans have had that in a long time. And what they also did is they won a game where they didn't play that well. Yeah,
that's for sure. What did you think of Greg Williams going for it on 4th down?
I liked it. I didn't like the play. Yeah, I liked it. In fact, what I really liked is that Denver chose to kick a field goal to cut it to 1. They were down by 4 inside the 10, right?
I didn't understand that call at all.
I didn't understand it at all, but I was thanking the Denver for doing it.
You're down there. You don't have any real healthy cornerbacks.
Correct.
So you're going to kick a field goal and put your defense out on the field again and hope. I think you need to try to score there, and if you don't, you've got them pinned down to the 5 or 4 yard line.
Right, and they're probably not going to get more than 2 first downs. They'll get the ball almost in field goal range.
I didn't understand that at all, and I think Vance Joseph will probably be gone, not because of that,
but that'll
add to it.
I thought it was a terrible call by him. I liked the call.
I didn't like the call by Williams only because I felt like, now if you kick the field goal, then you're making Case Keenum drive the length of the field and score a touchdown to beat you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think you got about a minute left, and you're saying to your team, make this 1 yard. And by the way, they got a horrible spot on that. Should have been
on the prior play.
The 4th and 1 should have been 4th and 1.5. Should have been 4th and a half.
Yeah, I agree.
There might be something in the rule though on challenging that you can challenge to see if he got the first down, but you can't move the ball to where it should be.
Oh,
I can't think of anything else.
I'm so confused by the rules and why some calls are made and some aren't. And,
I don't know. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Ryan, who's standing by in Newark, Ohio, I assume, or is it Newark, New Jersey?
It's Newark, Ohio, Les, Bud.
Hey,
glad to be on. You guys doing great. Enjoy watching the show on cleveland.com.
Thank you. We are so glad to be there.
Yeah. It's great down here in Central Ohio. Hey, just wanted to chime in on my thoughts on the Williams Kitchen duo. I think Greg had a bad rap for a long time. But what I look at really beyond the record is look at a few things. First off, player development and what you've seen with Schobert, what you've seen with Jannard Avery, Jabril Peppers. Kitchens, I like on that end. I like because he really doesn't have an ego, and him and Baker really gel. And let's face it, a lot of offensive coordinators, they all have a repertoire of plays, whether they execute and the players buy in, and they're buying in. And what's impressed me about Greg, I think the most is he has control of the locker room, and he has control of the media. It's not a circus. And we've lacked that for so long.
Well, he's also had a personality transplant.
The Belichicks.
Bud talked about how civil he has been. That's a personality. Compare him to the guy he was in Hard Knocks.
Yeah, and he's proven to me that he's a manager of this organization. And I think it's great. And again, players are playing for him. And the other thing I like about Greg is when Greg gets that bravado, that machoism, Baker kind of likes that. So I think it's kind of a best of both worlds. That gives him an edge with Greg. Greg gets him kind of fired up. And then he's really gelling with Kitchens. They kind of got that same kind of Southern kind of joking humor, and I think it's a good fit. I think they're really, really risking it. Again, I know
do you agree that this is their one opportunity to get the best, whoever the best guy out there is. But the danger on that, is why fix it if it's not broke? And I think this is I just think this is such a good job opportunity. I think it's the best one out there for a prospective coach because they don't really need changes, and they got the up-and-coming quarterback of the whole league in Baker Mayfield. I just think it's a great opportunity for somebody.
And you get McDaniels in there. It's a strong-headed ego. I mean, it scares me, and it's really gelling well right now. I kind of like giving Freddie the title of associate head coach, giving Greg a 3-year deal, and let's roll.
All right, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Happy holiday if we don't talk before. 216-575-0403. He's right.
Yeah, he makes good points. I don't agree though. I don't think Greg Williams would be on top of anybody's coaching list. And I think you now have a quarterback that will make the next head coach look pretty darn good.
If they don't go with Williams, do you think there's going to be 6 or 7 other openings out there? You think somebody's going to take a look at him? I mean, his NFL career is all based on what happens in the next 2 games and then some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there would be anybody that. I mean, maybe somebody will take a look, but I don't think you're going to have. There's other teams going to be banging the door saying, "Hey, let's hope that they pass on Greg Williams so we can get him." And that's not. I'm not taking a shot at him. I'm just saying that I don't see. I mean, I see that bravado. I know he's demanding, but I think there are a lot of coaches in the league that are demanding it, and the good ones are anyway, and they get the best out of their players.
Yeah, the other side of it is you don't have to introduce him to the players. He obviously knows them all.
Yeah, hey, but I could see where they would try to keep Kitchens, and I think Ryan mentioned an associate head coach role or something like that. And if they feel like it's a good fit with the guys that they want to bring in, I think they'll recommend that they give him serious consideration.
Would you consider Greg Williams as the next year's defensive coordinator?
I don't think he'd want to stay based on that, but sure.
216-575.
But I don't like the idea, Les. I'm sorry. I don't like the idea of forcing the next head coach saying, it's your job if you keep these 2 guys. You can't do that.
Can't do that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw is with us. Jim Ingram tomorrow night, and Paul Hoynes will be here on Thursday. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing this week, Sunday through Wednesday, as well as Saturday. 6 p.m. is the post time. Northfield Park open early every day at noon for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. There's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park, although they will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues on Spectrum as well as cleveland.com.
Transform your ugly, damp basement with the beautiful Nature Stone floor. Authentic Nature Stone brand flooring is durable, unaffected by water, and inhibits the growth of mold and mildew. No other floor covering outperforms Nature Stone. For a limited time, when you buy more, you save more. Up to 30, 40, or even 50% off on a beautiful Nature Stone basement floor. That's right, save up to 50% on material and up to 50% on installation. Call or go to naturestone.com today. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, and greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. But here we go with a classic How Come Quickie. How come we turn down the radio when we're looking for an address?
You know what makes that a really good How Come Quickie?
It's quick.
It's quick.
How come? 216-575-0403. Bud Shaw is with us.
Can I bring something up to you?
Yeah, it's your show.
We were talking off air a little bit about the Michael Brantley signing with Houston for 2 years and $32 million. He made $12 million last year with the Indians.
Okay.
So I know you were in favor of, you think the Indians could have afforded that and should have afforded it.
The 16 for 2.
The 16 for 2.
Yeah.
I think that's a big jump. That's taken on $8 more million for a guy who's 31 years old and has been hurt.
All right, we're going to ask Brian to put this up, take a look at the outfield, and tell me you want Brantley with this outfield or you don't want Brantley with this outfield, because this is horrifying to me. This is, first of all, you probably won't see Zimmer till the All-Star break, maybe. You got Leonis Martin, who almost, I hate to bring this up, he almost died last year, right? Greg Allen, a switch hitter. You got Trace Thompson, whose brother Clay is a great basketball player. That doesn't make Trace a great baseball player. Jordan Luplow, whose great uncle played for the Indians, Al Luplow, in the 60s. And Tyler Naquin, who's still looking for that fly ball in Game 6 of the World Series against the Cubs. Look at that outfield and tell me you're not scared.
Can I remind you of something a wise man just said very recently?
Yes.
About the baseball winter meetings? And it's not even winter yet for the baseball winter meetings.
Well, they have to add people.
It's December. I mean,
will Melky Cabrera change that?
No, but they'll add someone besides Melky Cabrera, who you, by the way, were very much in favor of last year.
Melky Cabrera. In fact, the way he plays the game is the Melky way.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
How come that wasn't the How Come Quickie?
I don't know.
You, of all people.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you have some trust in this front office by now?
The Dolans and
front
Antonetti?
office.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I'm not. Yes, but if they go into spring training with anything
if they
that
go into
looks
spring
like
training or come out of spring training with that outfield,
right.
I'll agree with everything you said.
Then I will see if I can walk on as an outfielder for the Indians. Let's go to the phones, and we'll go to Jim, who's in Amherst. Jim, go ahead. You're on with Bud Shaw.
Hi, Bud. Hi, Les.
Hey,
Hi, Jim.
Christmas, guys. I was wondering, I don't know how this works with Dorsey and Williams and Kitchens. Are they under contract right now?
Well,
yes.
Dorsey certainly has a longer-term deal, but yeah, those guys are under contract. I think one of the appealing aspects of keeping them would be that for the Dolans, that they wouldn't be blowing out another coaching staff and owing people money. But yeah, I believe that they're.
Has there been a time since Haslam took over that he hasn't been paying somebody not to coach?
Probably not. I mean, Williams is going into his third season. He would be going into his third season with the team. So I'm not sure if he had a 2-year deal or what he had. But I would assume that Kitchens would be in position for a bigger contract, right? Because he was a running backs coach. Now he's taken on more responsibility.
I also wouldn't worry about those guys. If they decide not to keep them, I'm sure Mr. Haslam will be happy to write a little bonus out the door.
I guess all I'm saying, Jim, is that they finally have the talent and the quarterback.
Right.
And I wouldn't give this coaching staff too much credit for being the reason why they're playing better right now. I think they're more talented. This kid is the real deal.
And other rookies have played
more. And the
more
last coach
was
was terrible. So I just think it was a ripe situation to walk in and say, look, there's more here than a 2-5-1 or 2-6-1 team, and have those players believing in it from the minute you step in. I just think this is an awful small sample size to say to Greg Williams, well, he's 4-2, they should keep him. If they lose that game on a field goal last week, he's 3-3, and is anybody saying anything about keeping him? I don't know.
This is the one chance you have to really solidify the franchise.
What I was thinking of was Dorsey. He's probably got more than maybe 2-3 years, maybe.
I don't know, but this might be his only chance to. If he names a coach and it doesn't work, it might be his only chance to find a coach.
Well, that's what I was.
Hold on a second. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Now, the pressure just got more on Dorsey to get the right guy, based on the fact that the Browns are playing good and the record looks much better.
I agree with that.
Why wouldn't you let him go one more year and see how it works out?
Well, I mean, I don't think that they want to put Williams in a position where everybody in the locker room knows that he's a one-year coach if things don't go well. So I think they're looking finally for the idea that they fired Hugh Jackson when they did. I think part of the reason, one of the benefits of doing that was they got a head start on hiring another coach. So I think they're looking at this as we have a chance to do our due diligence and get the coach who's going to be here, you know, for the entirety of Baker Mayfield's career if possible, or at least be what John Harbaugh has been for Flacco, what Mike Tomlin has been for Roethlisberger, you know,
and even
even Marvin Lewis down there with Dalton, to have the same head coach and the same quarterback in place for a number of years. I mean, we don't know what that's like in this town.
Jim, we got a boatload of calls we got to get to. Have a great holiday if I don't talk to you. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. We'll come back in a moment with Bud Shaw. More Sports and Les Levine continues on cleveland.com.
Smile.
No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Why not help guarantee those you love $250,000 or more with life insurance through AIG Direct? Less than $14 a month buys a 40-year-old man a $250,000 term life policy. That's up to 3 times what you can get from other companies for the same price. Make the future more secure for those you love.
Call 1-800-723-9758.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Take a look at this date in sports history. December 18th, 1930, Adolph Rupp coaches his first game at Kentucky, beating Georgetown College 67-17. He retired in 1972 after winning 879 games and 4 national titles. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Joe B. in Westlake sends in a How Come Quickie. But how come if I emailed you the same thing every day for a month, it would be the most resent, as opposed to the most recent?
Oh.
Got it.
You know what? I think that was a really fine How Come Quickie. I don't like the way the person read it.
The way I read it?
Yeah.
Why? What did I do?
I don't know exactly, but I'm going to blame you anyway for my stupidity. Yeah, okay, I like that one.
All right, very
because
good.
You say the most recent, right?
So yes, that's it, Bud, at the end of each show for the last 400 years. I think 1989 was, somebody called me on that. They said, you know, Gina Davis did a movie, and she said, of all the boyfriends I've had, you're the most recent. So I stole it from her. We looked it up. That movie was in 1994.
I thought you were going to claim that she stole it from you.
No, she was... Well, and
has she ever been on the show?
She was a tall woman. Is it?
She also was in one of the great baseball movies ever made, correct?
Yes, and
Penny Marshall
directed
that's
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
League of Our Own, and Penny Marshall passed away today at the age of 75.
She directed that, and she directed Big, which was
Big was one of the great movies.
Fabulous
I've only
movies.
seen it 50 times or so.
Yeah.
some great, and of course Laverne and Shirley. Let's go to the phones, and we will say hi to somebody. Ron is in Painesville. Ron, thanks for waiting. Go ahead.
Hi. I have a question about the Indians. Do you think they're clearing cap space to sign Bryce Harper to like a 2-year deal? We got $30 million cleared right now. If we get rid of Kluber, we got 11 more cleared. That's 41. Who says no to 1 year, $40 million? And then he's still 27 next year. Why don't they just sign him?
Well, I mean, are you in favor of getting rid of Kluber?
Who cares? We're putting for Bryce Harper.
Really? You would do it for Bryce Harper for a year?
Yes.
I wouldn't.
I think there's good enough pitching that they have. I think they're loaded in pitching, and they just got all these prospects from these trades they've made now.
Well, I mean,
if you're getting Harper, you better be ready to win.
I mean, the thing about this front office, and you may disagree with it, Ron, but they make deals when they can control the costs on the other end of it, and paying him that much for 1 year, I don't think you'll ever find that. I don't think they'll ever see their way clear to do that.
Yeah, me neither.
And I'm not sure I would either. I just think 1 year. What do you do if the guy gets hurt for 1 year?
Oh, you can say that about 1 year, but 10-year ones don't work either.
No, but you know, if you sign somebody for 3 or 4 years, you know that maybe there's, especially if it's a pitcher, you know that there's probably going to be a year where he's not himself, but you still have 3 more chances of him earning that money.
These 10-year deals, no, can you think of one that's worked in all 10 years?
No, I mean the Pujols one was
and A-Rod didn't either.
Was terrible, you know.
Ron, we got to go. Thank you for tuning in.
I'd be interested to see. I mean, do you think that they're still going to trade from the rotation right now?
Now I do, yeah.
You do?
Well, you can't go into that year with that outfield that we just showed you.
But don't you think there's money now to go and get somebody else?
Like who?
Well, I don't know.
Who?
A.J. Pollock from the Diamondbacks last year?
I would like him. I don't know what the cost range is. He'd be good in center field. Well, you got 100 center fielders, all equally average.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Have a happy holiday. Well, go ahead.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
It's an interesting thought, but I thought that in getting rid of the guys that they got rid of, they had saved enough money that they feel strongly now about keeping the rotation together.
Yeah, I think they didn't know which way they were going to go, and when things fell into place, that determined where they.
But you still think that there's a move that has to be made there in order to
find 2 outfielders.
And they still haven't done much to rebuild the bullpen, have they?
Yeah, no. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. We asked a question on Facebook today. What is the one move you'd like to see the Indians make before spring training? Let's take a look at some of the responses. Kevin Malone. A good hitting outfielder or 2. I would hold out and get the best deal for Kluber.
Well, he agrees with Ron then.
Yeah, I would keep Bauer. Kluber's great, but he's in his 30s, and now is the time to get the most for him. Dan Macy, bring back Melky Cabrera. Carmen Tulino, sign Bauer to an extension. No chance of it happening, but I'd like to see it happen. Jeff Stone, abandon the outfield by committee philosophy. Tom Tokar, don't trade Kluber.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a tough one. They clearly have to make moves there, and they also have to make moves in the bullpen.
All right, I'm going to buy into what you said. It's not even winter yet, so something will happen. There's got to be 2 different outfielders out there.
Yeah,
because that list we showed you even had Kipnis as an outfielder.
It did. I didn't see his name on there.
Yeah, I think it did. Brian, didn't it?
Not
in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, we moved him back to second base.
Would you want to move him? Where
move
can
him
you
as
play
a trade?
No, put him in the outfield permanently.
I had a talk with a former major leaguer who said he subscribes to what Gabe Paul used to say: when you put people in positions, the ball will find you.
Yeah.
And having Kipnis in the outfield on a game-to-game basis, you can get away with it because there's some routine fly balls and maybe only one tough play every 3 games. He says, but eventually, if he's in there the whole time, eventually the ball's going to find you.
Do you think he's a much worse outfielder than he is a second baseman?
Well, he used to be a decent second baseman. He's not anymore.
Yeah. If Martin is okay, he's your center fielder, correct?
I think he rotates with
Naquin?
Greg Allen.
Greg Allen. So can you play Kipnis in left?
I guess you'd have to.
Yeah. I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but.
I mean, first of all, there's the offense of that outfield is horrible. As stands, I'm gonna agree with you. There will be changes, but right now you can't go into a major league season with those guys.
No.
But we can take a break and tell you about Sokolowski's, which has no trouble finding anybody. What a great place this is. There'll be, this is Yogi Berra's thing. Nobody goes there. They're too crowded. It might be crowded, but they get you through the lines. This is just one of the best places in town to go for lunch, 11 to 3, Monday through Friday. Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. The winner of the James Beard Foundation Award just 2 or 3 years ago. Only 5 in the country make it each year, and I don't think anyone from Cleveland has done that other than Sokolowski's University Inn. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. We'll come back with this date in Les Levine history on cleveland.com.
Transform your ugly, damp basement with a beautiful Nature Stone floor. Authentic Nature Stone brand flooring is durable, unaffected by water, and inhibits the growth of mold and mildew. No other floor covering outperforms Nature Stone. For a limited time, when you buy more, you save more. Up to 30, 40, or even 50% off on a beautiful Nature Stone basement floor. That's right, save up to 50% on material and up to 50% on installation. Call or go to naturestone.com today. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
But this is one of your favorites, December 18th, 1977. Les gets a haircut instead of going to lunch, and when he returned, the radio station owner said, well, it grew on company time.
Do I need to add the disclaimer?
Which one?
Loosely based on fact?
No, this one was absolutely true. It's verifiable. All right, here's one of the great things on being associated with cleveland.com.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phones, and we'll go to John, who's in Hampton, New Hampshire.
Wow. Hey, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening. Born and raised in Cleveland, so I'm a huge Browns fan, and a couple of names that you guys brought up caught my attention. Actually, my second favorite NFL team is the Cardinals, so it brings me to Bruce Arians. Arians coached drop-back quarterbacks in Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer, and quite frankly, he didn't really, leave the Cardinals in good stead. He sort of struggled towards the end. Baker Mayfield obviously is not a drop-back quarterback. We saw that he excels when he's allowed to move around the pocket, which is why Kitchens, I think, is doing such a great job.
But he's not running around crazy.
No, he's not running around. He's not Fran Tarkenton, but, he's allowed to be fluid and not just drop straight back.
Yeah.
Same thing with McCarthy. I mean, McCarthy, we all know it seems to come out now that he had a contentious relationship, to say it best, with Aaron Rodgers. Do you really want a coach who might struggle with a strong-willed quarterback, which obviously was, I think, Baker's strongest asset? So my question to you, gentlemen, is, you're John Dorsey. When you're interviewing coaching candidates, isn't one of the very first questions you're going to ask any potential candidate is how do you view Baker and how would you use him in your offensive scheme? Because that's going to decide whether they're successful or not.
John, let me go one step further. If you're Dorsey and or Haslam, do you need input from Baker Mayfield as to how he'll get along or how he thinks he'll get along with the new coach? Do you think that's part of the equation?
It would be short-sighted if you did. I mean, we're not going the LeBron James route, where he's the general manager.
Yeah.
But, yes, because ostensibly you made him the #1 pick last year. You put the fortunes of the Cleveland Browns on this young man's shoulders. I mean, you had to do it to somebody, and Baker seems to be up to the task. So why wouldn't you go to Baker and say, hey, you know, whether it's Lincoln Riley, his old coach, which obviously would be a great asset for information on him, or hey, Baker, this is who we're thinking about hiring. You know, I'd have Baker have a sit down with any potential candidate in the same room with Dorsey and see if they mesh as coach quarterback. Because I think one of you gentlemen said,
what do you think?
The most important positions are a coach and a quarterback.
I know John's worried about the LeBron James effect, but in this case, it may be necessary.
Well, I don't know if it's necessary, but I like your idea of, you know, I think that would be part of the interview process at some point. But I don't think you want to put that on a young player's shoulders that he had a say in who the head coach was, you know?
I'd just be looking more for chemistry when they're in the room
I agree.
together.
I agree with you 100% on that. I think that will happen.
I think that coach will be so immersed and knowledgeable about every game and every throw that Baker's made that maybe that may not be necessary.
I just hope, I understand how this works. The guy who signs the checks has the final say in anything that happens. But I just hope that Haslam gets out of his own way this time and doesn't let emotions affect. You know, I'm sure he likes Greg Williams. Greg Williams, despite his bravado out of how people look at him outside the league, I think he's well liked in Berea by a lot of people. I think he's got that kind of infectious personality. And I just hope that the Haslams don't put too much stock in that and just trust your GM who spent his whole life in the league, who spent almost all of last year going around to college campuses and talking to coaches and has a long list of people that he's worked with in the NFL.
And his career may be dependent on what he does with this choice.
Yeah, and you know, just to wrap up, gentlemen, I think that's probably the biggest indicator is obviously it still infuriates me as a Cleveland fan that we never should have went into the season with Hugh Jackson, and it's obviously clearly on Haslam's watch. So what's really going to tell me
John, the fan shouldn't make that decision, but clearly it was a horrible decision as far as the fandom was concerned.
It's just there's no other business model that tells you that when someone is that poor, it's a result-oriented business. The NFL is the biggest example of that. And you're 1-31 and you're brought back. So to me, as a Cleveland fan living on the East Coast, I'm going to know that the Browns have turned the corner. If Haslam gives it to Dorsey, I mean, at some point you got to trust your people. That's the other business acumen.
That's why you got him.
You got to trust your people. So it's got to be Dorsey's choice of who he hires as a coach. Haslam, stay the hell out of it.
Right. Hey, John, thanks so much for calling. Spread the word on the East Coast for us, okay?
Great call, John.
Thank you. Good to hear from you. Isn't that great? New Hampshire. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northfield Park open early for simulcast action. Catch the excitement of live harness racing Sunday through Wednesday as well as Saturday. 6 p.m. is the post time, but they will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Let's take a break. We're coming back in a moment with Bud Shaw. More Sports and Les Levine continues on cleveland.com.
There is a place where dreams arise. Stars are born. And greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
Introducing LizardCam, the new micro camera that goes anywhere you can't see. With an extra long flexible cable, you can inspect anywhere. The powerful light illuminates even the darkest areas behind your walls. It comes with a hook tip so you can retrieve fallen jewelry down a sink. Plus, it's waterproof, so unclog drains like a pro. Add the mirror tip to find critter hideouts behind the fridge, or the magnetic tip so you can grab loose nuts and bolts that are impossible to reach. Get yours today.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. Tomorrow night, one of the funniest guys in Cleveland media, Jim Ingram, will join us. You see us live from 6 to 7, then you can follow us anytime, 24 hours a day on cleveland.com. You could also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Chardon for George. Hello, George.
Gentlemen, happy holidays.
Same to you,
George.
Thank you. Hey, something that I just want to get off my chest and get your guys' opinion on. I've been watching professional football for a long time. The thing that aggravates me, or is getting to the point where it's getting aggravating, are the celebrations after every play, whether it be a touchdown, a first down run, a first down completion, or whatever.
How about Callaway the other day makes a great big catch and then taunts?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and what about the team photo in the end zone?
Yeah.
I can't remember which game it was, but it's getting to the point where now it's getting borderline sickening.
Okay,
you know,
number one, I agree with you. You know what I think is even worse is that every pass downfield there's a penalty, either offensive holding or defensive interference.
Well, I have a whole other opinion about that. It's the way the NFL and referees have it controlling the game, but that's another
Okay,
subject.
we can discuss that at a future date.
Right. You know, so I mean, that's basically, you know, that was my comment. You know, and I'm getting to the, like I said, I'm getting to the point where I hate to even watch NFL football anymore because it just aggravates me. But the other thing I wanted to mention was, I totally agree with the subject of the show in terms of the Browns and their improvement this year, and you know. But I think you have to look at their strengths and their weaknesses. And one of the glaring weaknesses that I still see is the offensive line. And the reason that I say that is that, you know, Baker Mayfield is what, 6 foot tall.
Maybe.
He's got a gun for an arm. That means that when he throws a pass, his trajectory is flatter than, and is going to be flatter than, a lot of quarterbacks that don't have that strength. That means that, or that's one of the reasons why his passes are so susceptible to being batted down at the line of scrimmage unless he gets throwing lanes or he moves left or right out of the pocket.
Yeah, but hasn't the offensive line been pleasantly surprising?
Oh yeah, I agree. But I think for him to be even more effective than he is right now, the Browns have to concentrate on, number one, either giving him the lanes on the passing plays, the throw in, or he's got to take a little bit deeper drop out of the shotgun.
Yeah, maybe so. You just don't want him taking off and running too often.
No, I don't want to see that. I don't have a problem with him rolling right or left, but you know, he's got to get rid of the ball in the allotted time. But you know, 2 or 3/10 of a second on a pass in terms of trajectory is huge from the standpoint of the amount of ground the defensive back in the NFL today and the amount of ground that they can cover.
I agree, but he does have a quick delivery, and he's been small his entire life, and he knows about the lanes too. But you make a great point. But I think the offensive line has been pleasantly surprising. Thanks for the call, George.
Okay,
great
guys.
to talk
Thanks.
to you. Happy holiday to you and your family.
You too.
Just one quick one. Jim from Columbia Station says nobody's mentioned the DH. Who's that going to be? That's the guy who usually drives in the runs. A platoon, I assume, with Santana and I don't know.
Lupo. No, I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
Again,
probably Bowers.
I'm not saying that I just, you know, approve of everything the front office does, but it's clear that they're trying to recalibrate their spending. I get that,
right?
And they're going to be worse off because of it.
Well, Dennis Maniloff was here last night, and he says the team to worry about eventually will be Chicago, just not now.
Yeah, I agree with him on that.
So he's thinking that they still have their window of opportunity here. And they're trying to help the future here. But right now, when you look at the names, it doesn't look like it's a big help at all.
No, and Chicago looks like a team that's going to be ready to spend sooner than we thought.
Yeah. Let's go back to the phones. Let's say hi to Ed, who's in Cleveland. Ed, good evening. Got about a minute or so.
Yeah, hi, Les and Bud.
Hi, Ed.
I read this far-sighted proposed trade with Milwaukee Brewers for Corey Kluber. And it has 2 outfielders, a top second baseman that'll be ready in a couple of years, and then Corey Ray, who's he's also an outfielder, with Braden Woodruff and Domingo Santana, who's already ready for an outfield. And I know you were discussing that we need some outfielders, and this looks to
not
the
more
future.
than 2 or 3.
Were there any back of the bullpen guys in that deal?
Well, Brandon Woodruff is a starting pitcher, right-hand pitcher, and he's not one of the top top 3 in the
all right, but you try to concentrate on a deal with Milwaukee, right?
Right.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that trade.
Milwaukee's loaded. Milwaukee has a total surplus of outfielders.
That's right. So that was the argument, that they've got a couple outfielders they can likely give. They would love to get a starting rotation top-of-the-line pitcher like Corey Kluber, and we'd also get someone who could replace Ramirez when he leaves with Corey Ray, who's only in Double-A, but he's had a real breakout season.
You used up your allotted 1 minute. We appreciate your call. Great to talk to you. Have a great holiday if we don't see you or talk to you.
You too.
Tomorrow
Happy holidays to both of you.
Thank you. Tomorrow night, Jim Ingram. Thursday night, it'll be Hoynesy, Paul Hoynes.
Real quickly, he just said replacing Ramirez when he leaves. That's a whole other thing, right? Ramirez and Lindor aren't going to stay here.
2-3 years from now.
Yeah. So
can't wait for that show.
It's going to be a lot of change.
Great job by Bud Shaw, as always. Great job by you as the callers. We're finding new information and new listeners each and every day with cleveland.com. We'll see you tomorrow night. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.